How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry Chapter 3. I have no idea how to sum up the events of the last episode, because I am still utterly confused. And people in the comments have been telling me that it's only just begun in terms of the confusion and everything. Just everything. This is only the beginning of everything that's going to get thrown at us. I can't wait to have my mind just twisted and wrung out like a really old sponge. Yeah, I have no idea how to really sum up the last episode. It just feels like everything that happened in the last day here in the game didn't happen as we remember it. Whether that's true or not, I have no idea. They talked about silly things the entire way home, like they always did. Oh yeah, Rena and Mion are acting a little scary, as they tend to do. But they always stood at my sides as if to prevent me from escaping. This was strange. Everything about this day was strange. Actually, it had been strange ever since the previous night. Yeah, thinking back, it'd be strange ever since killing Sedoko's uncle. That creepy meeting with Takano-san was only the beginning. That insane night was still continuing. Yes, it still hadn't ended.
何？どうしたの、ケイちゃん。急に立ち止まったりして。
ごめん。なんでもないよ。
When I stopped, it was distant, but I definitely heard them. An extra set of footsteps. Okay, well, it's not Rena. That was my prediction in the last episode, was that Rena could be following us around, but I guess that wouldn't exactly make sense because, well, she was in the classroom. There's no way that she could have been outside behind us or anything. That was proof. Proof that insane night hadn't ended. There seems to be another entity at work. Whether that's Oyashiro-sama or whoever seems to be tailing us. Mion left where she usually did, and finally we came to my house.
じゃあね、ケイチくん。お家で待っててね。レナ、すぐに迎えに行くから。
What was it she was inviting me along on, one of her oversized garbage treasure hunts at the dam site, right? Yeah, I think so. But why now? Mion coming along was strange too. Mion may have accepted Rena's little hobby, but she hated fishing through garbage, so she'd never come with her before. And the location specifically being the dam site was a little creepy. The dam construction site was completely outside the flow of everyday life. It was so remote that no one ever went there unless they thought to in particular. Nobody lived there, and there were no lights, so at night it got dark very quickly. I was being forcibly invited there. That's not an invite, that's just being taken there. There was no reason I had to fear Rena and Mion. Besides, wouldn't the trouble I'd make by refusing them be a pain to deal with? In that way, it didn't seem like going treasure hunting with them was a bad idea. But that insane night was continuing. Haven't the sirens of instinct been wailing in my mind for a while now? Warning me that Rena and Mion were strange? That I needed to be cautious? The warning sirens were so freaking loud it felt like my head would split in two.
レナ、俺、実はちょっと用事があるんだ。
用事？何の？
なんのって、用事だよ、用事。
用事なら、なんでみーちゃんがいるうちに言ってくれなかったの？みーちゃんとはダム現場で待ち合わせって言って別れちゃった後なのに。
Rena was smiling, but her words made her discomfort clear.
ごめん、ちょっと言い出すタイミングを逃しちゃって。
本当に？
You're lying, aren't you? You just made that up now, you liar. That's what Rena's eyes said to me.
俺、頭が痛いんだ。風邪かもしれない。だから病院に行って薬をもらってきたいんだよ。
Oh, fuck me, bro. Stop. Stop. I don't know why I hate that as much as I do. I really don't know why. That wasn't really a lie. My head did hurt a little, so I wasn't lying. Rena, she couldn't figure out if my head hurt or not just by looking at it.
なら仕方ないね。
After staring me in the eyes for a few moments, she fired a sharp needle-like stare at me. The tension in my body loosened, and I felt my knees might buckle.
診療所に行くなら早く行った方がいいと思うよ。あそこたまに早く閉まるから。
ありがとう。そうするよ。
必ず行くんだよ、病院。
行くよ。
本当に行くんだよ。
行く。
It seemed like Rena had realized that I was going to refuse her invitation for a while now. With how serious she looks, she might actually call the clinic later to make sure I went. Or, follow us. I couldn't say anything careless. Lying about getting checked out was just an excuse to decline her request in the first place. It didn't matter whether I actually went.
あ、ちゃんと行くよ。なんなら明日、病院のレシートを持って行ってもいい。
それいいね。必ずもらっておいてね。レナ、明日見るから。
Another tingle started crawling up my back. There was no ignoring it. Rena and Mion must have been monitoring my movements. That wasn't normal. Far from it. All of it was insane. I did what I did because I wanted my peaceful life back. But what on earth was all this? It was far from peaceful. Something had gone mad, leaving the world out of order. With the other Keiichi Maibara, with those creepy footsteps I've been hearing, with Rena and Mion acting so curious, and above all, with him being alive. Where was I? Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone. I knew that much. Was this really the Hinamizawa I knew?
おい、前原圭一。ここはどこなんだ?
I asked, whipping around before the front door to face the one who has been following in my wake all day. Nobody would have been there, of course. Keiichi Maibara, huh? That's what I just called him. Called the one who had been trailing behind me this whole time. That shadowy presence always clinging to me like it was constantly watching for the opportunity to change places. Footsteps always following me was another impossibility. It couldn't have been a ghost, so it was just impossible. So the strangeness must have been my ears, my head, or Hinamizawa. Everything I could see was the same exact Hinamizawa I knew so well, and that gave me the creeps. Eventually, I decided to actually go to the clinic. I really didn't want to go outside, but a stronger feeling that the desire, the fear Rena might actually be keeping an eye on me to see if I went to the hospital. But before I went to the clinic, there was something I wanted to make sure of. It was at school. I pretended I'd forgotten something, and was going back to the classroom to pick it up. As soon as the thought crossed my mind, I was overwhelmed by paranoia. I was just going to the classroom, but I hated it so much, having to be so careful to fake it. After carefully verifying once more that nobody was watching, I went over to the locker. Yes, Satoshi's locker. Okay, if it's in there, that means something happened. And it's not just people telling lies and fabricating the events that actually occurred. Because if that's the case, well, that's well and good. I don't know if Sodako's uncle is still around, but that would at least mean that we've just been told lies. I committed the crime with the bat I found in this locker, Satoshi's bat. And then I had thrown the bat into the swamp, which meant the bat shouldn't have been inside. But, what if the bat was still in here? It was a very dreadful, incomprehensible idea, but if it was true, it would explain a lot. If the bat was in here, yesterday's events would have all been a delusion. No, an illusion. I hadn't killed anyone, and I'd gone to the festival. I had a great time rampaging about with everyone. It would prove that Keiichi Maibara was really me. Proof that I was only under some strange assumption that I had killed Sodako's uncle. Proof that it had all been a wild fantasy. That would explain everything. Nothing happened yesterday. I had just gone mad, unable to separate my shocking, uncle-killing dream from reality. That would explain everything. If the bat was here, would I be able to accept that reality? If it was here, nothing will have changed. If it was here, it would just mean I'd gone crazy. Preparing myself for the worst, I opened the locker door. I was actually scared of opening it slowly, so I threw it open with a bang. And it's not there, is it? And just like the first time, the choking scent of smell and sweat like a stale towel came flowing out. There was a baseball uniform and some miscellaneous other things like notebooks, but is the bat in there? There was also a shoe I don't care about these other items. Is there a bat? And as for the bat, it wasn't here. Okay. It was how I left it when I took the bat out. There was no doubt. Yesterday really happened. Now that I knew I wasn't a lunatic, I felt relieved. Okay, we're out of the clear. Or we're in the clear, I guess you could say. But what about everything else going on, you know? Is it at this point just a fabrication? But at the same time, if I wasn't the crazy one, then Hinamizawa was. And that was evidence of a reality I found just as difficult to accept. There was noise somehow creeping into everything I saw, and the world was losing a tiny bit of color. So what did I know about last night now? Now that I'd made sure the bat wasn't there, I didn't need to be here anymore. Shall I go? For real, to the hospital. Probably, before somebody sees us. It was my first time going to the hospital, but from what I'd heard, it wasn't far from school. My mom had told me where it was. A big easy-to-see road went straight there. I went past the shopping street and made a turn. I think we went there in chapter 1, right? It wasn't overly hard to spot the sign with Ire Clinic written on it. Why does that sound familiar? There was one other person, an older man there in the air-conditioned waiting room. I went up to the counter and told them it was my first time here. The man behind the counter glanced at the clock and said there would be a short wait. It was almost 5. Clinic hours would be ending soon. As I sat in this unfamiliar waiting room, isolated from everyone, and let myself feel the cool air, I actually felt relieved. What should I tell the doctor when he comes? I could tell him I had a cold, but I was the very picture of health. Actually, I wanted him to check my head. I wanted someone to confirm for me whether I was really sane or not.
前原圭一さん
Huh?
診察室へお入りください
The voice from the other side of the examination curtain, I thought I'd heard it somewhere before. Yeah, wait a minute. Oh,
こん
shit.
にちは
Oh. The coach is also a doctor. Oh, wait, yeah, that's right. He was called doctor one other time. How could I forget?
ここでお会いするのは初めてですね
監督ってお医者さんだったんですか？
Now that you mention it, he did seem to know his way around when he was looking at my shoulder in the nurse's office. It would make sense if he was actually a doctor. Come to think of it, our teacher called him, how the fuck do you pronounce his name properly? It's not Ire, is it? Whatever.
一応お医者さんなんかやっていますお医者さんはいいですよ若いすべすべなお肌を見放題の触り放題
Okay, it's definitely the coach.
怪しいお注射で自由を奪って私だけの専属メイドに
Definitely the coach.
ありがとうございました。今のを見てただけで風邪が治りました。失礼します。ペコリ。
わったったった前原さん冗談ですさあ座って診察させてください
He's very young for a doctor.
聴診器を当てますから前原さんのすべすべのお胸を見せてください
For some reason, I felt really relieved. After that insane night, as much as I thought everything had gone crazy, Coach was here doing the same thing he always did, and I was very happy for that.
風邪ではないようですねむしろ全身の擦り傷や切り傷の方が痛々しいくらいですひょっとして半袖半ズボンで藪の中に入って遊びましたか切り傷から破傷風菌が入った可能性もないとは言えませんし
Uh-oh. That's not good. I just got my tetanus shot. But then again, you never really think about it, like, you know, playing around, messing around, whatever you do, and then, oops, wait a minute, I don't have my tetanus shot, I'm gonna die. As I was chasing that man last night, I'd kept getting scraped by bits of trees. I didn't realize I had so many cuts.
昨日のお祭りではしゃぎすぎましたね。若いというのはいいことです。
And once again, I apparently went to the festival.
監督も行ったんですよね、お祭り。
ええ、もちろんですよ。私こう見えても綿流しの実行委員会の役員ですからね。
俺に会いましたか？
This coach was the same coach that I'd always known, and I felt like I could trust him more than my weird friends, so I asked.
実は私、本部テントでずっと会長さんたちとお酒を飲んでたんで、全然お祭りは見て回ってないんですよ。
You know, that's understandable. Personally, if I was in that position, I would honestly probably do the same.
前原さんには会ってないと思います。
そうですか。
変わった質問をしましたね。ひょっとして今日、寝不足ですか？
Oh, we definitely did not. Absolutely not. Today's drink, by the way, is literally continuing my drink from last time. It's on-brand Gatorade.
いけませんよ。成長期はよく食べよく寝て育つんですから。
You guys are ever wondering why I'm announcing what I'm drinking? It's because sometimes I will have those moments where I really gotta get a drink, and you will get to just either hear me drink or just enjoy silence. Coach let out a laugh. He didn't laugh in an unnatural way like Mion and Rena did. Coach was okay. He was the coach from the world I knew. He wasn't someone from this abnormal world.
こんな話、きっと変だと思うんですけど、笑わないで聞いてほしいんです。
ねえ、どうぞ。思春期のシャイな悩み、大いに歓迎ですよ。
俺と瓜二つな人間がいるなんてありえますか？
Coach hadn't expected that question at all, and couldn't say anything for a moment. But then he smiled calmly and quietly answered.
迷信ですが、世界には自分と全く同じ顔をした人があと2人いるなんて話を聞いたことがありますね。
Yeah, I met my doppelganger through a meme. You guys ever see that meme where there's that guy that's standing in front of a PowerPoint presentation? He's wearing like a full-on suit, and there's like a Russia, like a communist, I guess, background on the PowerPoint. I don't know if it's China or just communism in general, or if it's, Russia. I don't know what it is, but it does look like that as a background, and it says, why doing such and such can bring back disco, or disco can bring back whatever. I can't remember how it's worded, and I'll probably forget to edit in the meme here during the video because I never edit in these videos, or I usually don't. By the way, don't tell anybody I said that. Yeah, that guy definitely looks like me, at least when I was younger. I don't know why. I just think it's funny. And I've shown that to a bunch of people, and they actually do think that, wow, that looks like me. So I met my doppelganger through a meme, but he hasn't met me yet. And someday, I don't think that's actually gonna happen. Never mind.
いるならぜひお会いしてみたいものですが。あと、おとぎ話にも自分の分身が登場する話がいろいろありますよ。ドイツのおとぎ話に出てくるドッペルのお化けなどは有名です。
ドッペルのお化け？
ええ、自分の姿に瓜二つなんだそうです。不幸の前触れなんだそうで、これに遭ってしまうと近いうちに死んでしまうみたいな話らしいですよ。
Well, fuck. When you meet them, you're sure to die soon. The story ended directly in death, plain and simple, and it made my spine tingle. Coach wasn't saying it to scare me, though. It was just offering a casual anecdote, but that made it feel all the more real.
そのお化けがHinamizawaに出るなんて話はありますか？
さて、どうでしょう。
Coach must have thought he was being teased, so he laughed in an exaggerated way. But when I didn't smile along with him, his laughter steadily grew fainter.
すみません。ちょっと真面目な話のつもりだったんで。
いえ、こっちこそ笑ってすみませんでした。何か気になることでもおありですか？
I wondered if I should tell him. Then, after resolving myself, for one final time, I slowly spoke.
俺、昨日はお祭りに行っていないんです。
そうでしたか。お祭りは来年もあります。その時また。
そうじゃなくて、俺は祭りに行っていないのに、みんなが言うには、俺は祭りにいたらしいんですよ。こんなことってあるんですか？
After blinking his eyes in amazement, Coach thought seriously about what I was trying to say, and he answered, choosing his words carefully.
お話を整理しますね。つまり前原くんは綿流しのお祭りに行ったけど、その記憶がないということですか？
I was trying to say something completely different, but I suppose any sane person would come to that conclusion. That night, Keiichi Maibara was actually at the festival, but I was saying I didn't go. That obviously meant my memories of going there had failed me, but that was absolutely impossible. That vivid act I had committed during the downpour couldn't possibly have been an illusion. All these scrapes on my body prove it, as does the fact the bat wasn't in the locker.
いえ、違うんです、監督。俺は本当に祭りに行っていないんです。
気を悪くしないでくださいよ、前原さん。前原さんにはこれまでに気づいたら見知らぬ場所にいたとか、そういう記憶の欠落を経験されたことがありますか？
Holy shit, bro. I'm getting some wonderful everyday vibes. I think I know where he's going with this.
ないです。それに、記憶を失ったとかそういうのじゃない。だって、その祭りの時間には別の用事を確かにやっていましたから。寝てて意識がなかったとか、そういうのじゃありません。
その用事は間違いなく。大変失礼ですが、何かの思い込みでなく。
間違いありません。完全にはっきりとした記憶、いや事実です。
お祭りの時間に神社にいなくて、よそで別の用事をしていた。それをはっきりした形で証明できますか？
That's right. Thinking it through brought me to this. There was only one way to prove that I really wasn't at the festival yesterday, and that was to show there was no doubt I had killed her uncle. Coach saw me struggling to answer, and his eyes looked a little cold. I guess they would. After all, from Coach's perspective, I was just a weirdo sputtering nonsense.
少し横になりましょうか。心を落ち着けて楽にしましょう。
別に横に遠慮します。
Oh, okay.
少し神経に高ぶりがあるようです。鎮静剤を注射して少し目をつむってみませんか？
Oh, I'll take the sedative. Fucking shit, bro. I want to sleep peacefully.
それで、
俺は異常者じゃない。
I realized Coach was treating me like a deviant, so I raised my voice.
気に障ったなら謝ります。ですからどうか落ち着いて。
俺は絶対に祭りには行っていない。それは本当に間違いないんです。
分かってます。分かってますから、どうか落ち着いて深呼吸を。
あんたは全然分かっていない。
Coach was stunned and stared in stupefaction? Yeah, let's go with that.
分かっていますよ、前原さん。あなたは昨日はお祭りに来なかった。
I wonder if my English will ever get better.
そうですよね。私は信じます。信じますよ。
Coach jotted down a brief note in his records. He was writing in German, so that his patient wouldn't know what it said. But I could make a good guess as to what he wrote.
あの時間に何をしていたか、全部話さないと信じませんか？
いいえ、信じますから。どうか座ってください。
Before I sat, I tilted my head back a little. The blood in my face all drained out, and I quieted down. After taking a deep breath, I made sure that I was calm now.
俺が祭りの会場にいることはありえない。なぜなら、その時間に俺は。
Should I tell him or not? Well, if you tell him, you're creating your beginning. Like, I'm pretty sure there already is one, but You're basically going against what you tried to prevent all along. I really didn't want to have to go on living like this, feeling this horrible, and I said them the final fatal words.
聡子の王子を殺していたからです。
I could smell the concrete in the room. I could feel the air sharpen, or I could feel the air around us sharpen. Nobody moved. Only the sound of the clock ticking told us time hadn't stopped. With his mouth wide open, Coach even forgot to blink for a little while.
あなたが聡子ちゃんのおじさんを
Yeah. It's fine now, Keiichi Maibara. Don't hesitate. Admit it with all your strength.
はい、俺が昨日の夜殺しました。
I spoke clearly and fluidly. I could easily tell the coach's mind had gone completely blank.
どうしてそんなことを。いえ、それは愚問ですね。
聡子を救う最も直接的な方法だと考えるに至り実行しました。後悔はわずかもありません。
そうですか。
Coach smiled thinly and nodded a bit.
だから俺は祭りの会場にいるわけがないんです。
I left the brightness of my house for the darkness of the outside. After that, I dug holes, made phone calls, I had my hands full. And then I attacked him, killed him, and buried him. It was pouring hard at the time. The festival started that evening, but was suspended due to the rain. Was it? Was it? There was no gaps in my memories. From the late afternoon until it started to rain, there was no time for me to have possibly gone to the festival.
その体中の傷はその時に。
Okay, let me ask you all this. If all of these chapters are following the same sort of flow of time, and very similar events that occurred in Chapter 2 somewhat carried over here to Chapter 3, and same thing here with Chapter 1. Apparently this all used to be one combined visual novel where you had choices which led you down different routes, but obviously that wasn't the most optimal, which means we're in the same world, the same time and everything. It's just different events are playing out. But in terms of the flow of time and natural events, it shouldn't have rained. It shouldn't have. I didn't really question it before, but why did it rain? Why did that suddenly become a thing? I think that plays a part in this.
そうです。聡子の家を少し行ったところに林道がありますよね。あそこで襲い、逃げるあいつを追い、町に至る一本道で殺すに至りました。
それは本当に。
Killing her uncle, it wasn't some wild fantasy. I could tell that Coach didn't believe me, so I spoke slowly, not letting myself grow excited.
本当です。サトシのバットで殴り殺しました。そのバットはあいつが乗ってきたバイクと一緒に沼に捨てました。死体は殺した場所に穴を掘り埋めました。すべて自分が一人でやりました。
聡子ちゃんのおじはバイクで通りかかったんですね。ではあなたはそれを期待して延々と待ち伏せを。
あいつが家から出ないことは想定していました。だから電話で適当な嘘を喋ってあいつが出かけるように仕向けました。
電話で呼び出した。でもあなたの家と聡子ちゃんの家は離れています。電話をしてからではとても待ち伏せに間に合わないのでは。
襲撃予定場所から最も近い電話として学校の電話を使いました。
でも前原さん、当日は日曜日です。学校には施錠がされていて入れないのでは。
偶然その時営林署の人が中に出入りしたんです。その隙に入りました。
After that, Coach grilled me on a few different things regarding the incident. He made sure to question me carefully, looking for any contradictions in my account.
信じましょう。あなたが昨日したことは夢とは思えない。
I explained everything, including minor details that only someone who had actually committed the act could explain. I could, of course. It was only yesterday. Coach realized that my story had no expedient coincidences, or too convenient details that would have existed in a daydream or a delusion, and finally seemed to want to believe me.
これでもまだ俺が記憶をなくして祭り会場に行ったと思いますか？
Coach slowly shook his head.
でもクラスのみんなが昨日確かに俺が祭りにいたと言います。そんなことがありえるでしょうか？
あるわけがない。きっとクラスの皆さんはあなたによく似た誰かとあなたを見間違えたのでしょう。
Someone that looked very similar and called himself Keiichi Maibara?
それに集団心理が働いて、皆さんはあなたがお祭りにいたと錯覚してしまっているに違いありません。
They couldn't have mistaken me. Mion and all the rest said that they were spending time with Keiichi Maibara. It was much more than just having mistaken someone else for me. But saying that out loud would just confuse Coach. He spoke to me in whispered tones.
罪の意識はあるんですか？
It didn't sound like he was criticizing me. And even if he had, I would have flatly said the same thing.
ありません。あいつのいなかった平穏な時間を取り戻すために行いました。
Hell yeah.
だから俺はあいつを殺したことなんかさっさと忘れてこれまで通りに生活するつもりです。あいつが現れる前、聡子がいつも見せてくれたあの笑顔が戻った時、ようやく全ては終わります。
犯行を誰かに目撃されたということは？
ないと思います。目撃されてればもうとっくに逮捕されてるでしょうから。
私は医者です。人の命を救う職にあります。だから私から人間の命を奪うことを肯定する旨の発言はできません。だから私はあなたにこう言います。
Coach slowly rose and placed a hand on my shoulder.
聡子ちゃんを救ってくれて。
Coach's eyes started shedding warm tears. When I looked at him, I started to feel some tears of my own. I didn't know what I was crying for, and so for a little while, the two men in the room fought back their tears.
でもおかしいんです。
おかしいとは？
確かに殺したはずなのに、あの男は生きて家に帰ったらしいんです。
Coach's expression immediately sharpened.
状況にもよりますが、気絶や仮死状態など素人が見ると死んだようにしか見えない状態もいくつかあります。その可能性は？
I mean, we fucking buried his ass.
脈を取ったわけではありませんが、確実に仕留めたと思います。
前原さんが襲った時の状況を再現してもらってもいいですか？
Yeah, bro, let's do it on you. Coach rolled up a health and fitness week poster nearby and offered it to me to represent the bat. Though I may have been lost to the emotions of a beast last night, I remembered in detail the number of times I swung the bat, the angles I had swung from, and the force I applied. Using Coach as a stand-in for the uncle, I reproduced them over one by one.
そしてあいつが足を取られてよろめいた時、その時これまでとは違った手応えがありました。頭蓋骨が割れたんだと思いました。
I wonder how thin the walls here are at the hospital, to be honest. Coach was calmly analyzing this information, using the places I'd struck and the situation at hand to find out what state the uncle's body had been in.
そして死んだかどうか自信が持てなかったので、倒れた後も何度か殴りつけました。
その時の反応は？
初めは殴るたびに体が跳ねるような感じがありましたが、やがてそれもなくなり、何の反応もなくなりました。
Coach folded his arms and said, a few times. And then he spoke.
死んでいます。ほぼ間違いなく。
それは仮死状態ではなく？
前原さんの話からだけではなかなか判断がつきませんが、ほぼ確実だと思います。それに前原さんは死体を泥の中に埋め、結構な時間をかけて埋めていますよね。仮に30分で埋めたとして、その男は30分間も泥水に沈められていたことになります。それだけの時間、 呼吸が止められたら確実に脳死します。
殴った強さ以前に埋める過程で確実に絶命したと。
そういうことです。30分間泥に埋められていて生きていられる人などありえません。
ありえないですよね。でも聡子は生きてると。
Coach, a doctor, just gave his stamp of approval that he was dead for sure. That made it seem all the more unfair that he could still be among the living.
前原さん、これはとても恐ろしい想像なのですが、
Did we kill the wrong guy?
前原さんが殺した相手が叔父でなく別人である可能性は。
He's right. That could be why. He cleared up the inconsistency of my definitely having killed someone, but him still being alive.
そんなはずはない。だってほら、監督と一緒に聡子の家の前で酒瓶の袋を運んだ時、窓から顔を出した男がいたじゃないですか。あいつですよね、聡子の叔父は。
ええ、間違いありませんよ。あの男です。
実はもう一人叔父がいるなんてことは。
聞いたことがありません。あの男だけです。
あいつの特徴を教えてもらえますか。
まず身長がですね、175、もう少しあるかもしれません。
In order to eliminate the worst possibility that I'd killed someone else, Coach began to thoroughly compare what the man in his mind looked like with what I told him the person I killed looked like. But no matter how in-depth my description went, none of the characteristics differed. The uncle's traits, according to the coach, were all exactly the same as the person I'd killed. But those traits were all extremely vague, and they weren't particularly distinct at a glance.
もっとこう絶対にあいつだと識別できる特徴はありませんか。
そういえば私は見たことありませんが、聡子ちゃんが昔背中に虎だかなんだかの入れ墨があるなんて言っていたような気がします。
入れ墨。
That was really important. Not everyone had a tattoo. I do. If I found a tiger tattoo on the back of a man's corpse, it would be proof I'd killed the right one. At that moment, though, there was one other thing that would verify this. To go to Sudoku's house and see for myself the uncle that had returned home despite having died. But that was far more terrifying than digging up the body and looking at its back. Without even looking at the tattoo, I knew for sure the one I'd killed had been Sudoku's uncle. I cracked his head open and killed him. And yet he'd gone back home. There wasn't any misunderstanding or even the shadow of a doubt in my mind about having killed him. And yet, it was impossible for him to exist. Kind of like how Keiichi Maibara had been at the festival, despite it being impossible. And that small commonality made me feel as though a faint but bizarre force was permeating this insane Hinamizawa.
一体どういうことなのでしょう。前原さんはお祭りには行かず、聡子ちゃんのおじさんを殺していたにもかかわらず、お祭りにはあなたがいて、そして殺したはずのおじさんも生きている。
何がなんだかさっぱりわからないです。そうやって整理して言うと、まるで俺が悪い夢を見ていて、実は殺人なんて存在しなかったんじゃないかと思えてしまう。でも事実なんです。この手でバットでガツンガツンと殴ったあの感触は絶対に夢や幻なんかじゃないんです。
Coach let out a slow sigh and then after looking at the clock got up.
ちょっとこの話もう少し真剣にやりましょう。ちょっと失礼して紅茶でも入れてきてあげます。診療所も終わりの時間ですからね。ジムの方とかも返してあげないと。
Coach stood up and went out into the hallway, leaving me alone. The clock was about to strike 6. God damn, we've been talking to him for a while. I was at the festival and the uncle I killed was alive. Had I really committed murder yesterday? The only whisper of a fact that proved it happened was the absence of that bat from Satoshi's locker. In any case, I was glad that Coach had taken my nonsense seriously. I just confessed to murder, Normally they would that would frighten a person away. But Coach didn't run. He cried with me. I was glad he did. Like so, my tension smoothly melted away, and I suddenly realized I really had to urinate. I thought to use the restroom while Coach had stepped out. There was one across from the waiting room. As soon as I left my room, I saw Coach and 2 male doctors wearing white clothing standing in the shadows of the hallway nearby. I didn't particularly intend to eavesdrop or anything, but I was quite surprised upon noticing how uneasy they seemed. I hid behind the wall and quietly listened in. Oh no. It seemed like Coach was giving directions to the 2 doctors.
紅茶ですね。用意します。
睡眠導入剤を入れて、種類は任せます。
That doesn't bode well.
味はミルクと砂糖でごまかしてください。
急激な眠気に不信感を抱く可能性もあります。興奮状態に陥って暴れ出す可能性も。
その場合は取り押さえましょう。男性スタッフはまだ何人か残ってますか？
山犬が1人、それに私たちを含めて3人です。
What was all this? I think I was already agitated despite what Coach said. Was that it? Was it just a casual conversation? And it was only sounding unbelievable to me? Coach said he would bring some black tea and left the room. And then in the shadows he was telling his subordinates to put some kind of sleeping powder in the tea? Plus they were getting extra help? In case I thought the sudden sleepiness was suspicious and started getting violent? Hey, wait, Keiichi Calm down, calm down. There's no way something this stupid could be happening. I mean, he was genuinely listening to my story and he even cried with me. I thought he was the only person, the one person in Hinamizawa, who would understand. This was...
作り話か虚言の兆候があり、特に昨日の記憶が完全に混乱。虚実の区別の喪失。
Oh.
多重人格等の精神障害に酷似しています。
Oh no, that's what I feared.
でも、こんな急激な精神障害の発症は普通では考えられません。あるいは先天的、もしくは引っ越し前からそういう兆候があったのか。引っ越し前に精神科に通院例がないか調べたいところです。とにかく前原さんには穏便にお休みいただきます。
The 2 doctors nodded deeply.
前原さんのご両親にも連絡しておいた方が良いですね。何と言えばいいか言葉が思いつきませんが、彼の自宅の電話番号を調べてください。
My eyes, still moist, began to shed tears once more. This was too cruel. I really thought he had actually understood and had believed what I told him. But now, from the other side of that wall, he was bluntly treating me like a crazy person. I believed you. I believed you! I had let down my guard because I thought you were the only ally I had left after that insane night. Was that a lie? All that about thanking me on Sotoko's behalf. Were you just pretending in order to keep me placated? Well, in one place. My tears fell to the floor in frustration. I was an idiot. I was an idiot. I was such an idiot for believing that bastard. I heard footsteps approaching the doctors. Oh. A man in a dress shirt with no tie came running up.
入江先生、
Bureau staff.
大変です。高野さんが見つかりました。
高野さんが一体どこに？
それが山中で焼死体で発見されたらしく。
Oh, well, that's some information.
死んだ？高野さんがですか？
The men, all surprised, exchanged glances. Dead? Takano-san? Hey, wait. So then, does that mean when I cursed her, wishing for her death, that wish was granted?
焼死とは一体どういうことですか？それは事故ですか？
県警の発表では他殺の可能性が極めて高いと。
As I cried, I laughed quietly. Serves you right, serves you right. If I hadn't run into that woman, my murder would have been perfect. but she just had to come driving up to me and tried to coerce me like that. I regretted not having killed her on the spot, but now she was dead anyway. My curse, my wish for her demise, it was fulfilled. Serves you right. Serves you right.
リサさんが死に、高野さんが死に、一体ひなみ沢には何が起こっているというんですか？
Who's Risa-san?
まさかこれが今年のお社様のたたりだなんて言うんじゃないでしょうね。
Like hell I'll let that curse be real, Coach said. Everyone present just nodded as Coach cursed at no one in particular. Ha ha ha. Yes, maybe it wasn't Oyashiro-sama, but this was definitely a spell, a curse. I wished for her to die, so she did. If this wasn't just a coincidence, and she died because I wished for it, then you'll die next, Coach. You betrayed me. You pretended to believe me, but deep down you thought I was a madman. You looked down on me with all that pity in your eyes.
では、とりあえず紅茶の準備を。紅茶は私が持って入ります。私以外には彼は心を許さないようですからね。
Shit, shit, shit. What do I do? What do I do, Keiichi Maibara? This time I heard the voice of a nurse.
入江先生。あ、いらっしゃいましたか。お電話です。
今ちょっと忙しいので、後でかけ直すと伝えてください。誰からです？
沖宮警察の大石様ですけど。
ちゃ悪いタイミングですね。出ます出ます。
Coach left to go answer the phone. The other men headed towards the room with the teapot to make the black tea like Coach had ordered them to. Fortunately, Coach having to take that phone call meant that there would be an extra time for me to act. I had to decide what to do now. Would I let him make me drink the sedative-infused tea, or be held down and thrown into a mental hospital? Nothing would come from starting a brawl here. They had more people anyway, and they were all bigger than me. If it came to a fight, I didn't stand a chance in hell. If I couldn't win against them, then there was only one thing left to do. Run. Like hell! Adrenaline suddenly rushed into my brain and my body, started to move with keen instinct, like it had on that night. My surface temperature quickly cooled, and the transmission routes between my cells enlarged. What fucking narration, bro? Using 360-degree visual information, I searched for an escape route. I would open the window behind me. Outside was a parking lot. There was no cars. A little beyond there was the bicycle I had taken to get here. I determined that this would be the quickest method of escape. I approached the window swiftly, but with little sound to raise as little suspicion as I could. With the speed and silence of a shadow, like I'd had on that night, I chased her uncle. I unlocked the window and opened it up. A cool evening breeze wafted in. I stuck my head out and looked over the parking lot again. Nobody in sight. No need to hesitate. I quietly crawled outside and closed the window behind me. I held my breath and listened carefully. Nobody seemed to have realized I'd run. I looked around. Then I jumped onto my bicycle and zoomed away. Alrighty, we're gonna end it here. I don't know how much more there is to this chapter, but whatever. We'll just end it there. There's a lot I want to say. A lot I don't really think I can put into words yet. But fuck. Okay, I've seen this before in other visual novels. And I can't really say much more because then I'd start spoiling shit. I understood his question, what he meant very quickly by the, have you noticed you coming up in different places, different times that you don't, remember what had happened before then. Like, there's a disconnect. Oop. It's like a disconnect, right? So that made me immediately think, oh shit, multiple personality disorder, what the fuck's happening? That might have happened here, maybe not, I don't know. I don't think it can be as simple as that, but at the same time, what if everything that we've witnessed through the eyes of Keiichi Maibara is incorrect? What if a lot of the things that we witnessed and went through are incorrect because we're only seeing it through the eyes of Keiichi Maibara? How about that one? How about that fucking prediction? I'll leave that with you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Take it easy.